gonna be alright. And thank you for tuning in. It is June 1st, Friday, of course, 2018. And of course, you're listening to the press release. And I'm your hostess, Portia. So glad you decided to tune in with me tonight. It just seems like so many things have taken place this week. It's like, even today, it's National Donut Day of all days. After, you start your week off with, a holiday and then you go back to a work week. It's just been crazy. So what better day than this Friday to actually end your day with a sweet, juicy donut. Right. I unfortunately didn't get an opportunity to taste any donuts today. I've been completely busy with work and the short session, which we'll get into later in the show. But other than that, I'm just so grateful to be here with you tonight. I mean, God, out of all the things that have taken place this week, I feel so blessed to just make it to this Friday, June 1st. Like literally, we are almost through 2018. Can you believe it? It just seems like we were celebrating Christmas and then bringing in the New Year, and then now we actually have like only a few more months before the end of the year. Wow, it's been a roller coaster, but I'm so grateful for it. I actually have a few more months myself before I get married. Like, right, seriously. And I'm actually turning 33 this year. I have a few more months for that, Lord willing. I'm really I'm really on the edge of my chair, but I'm making sure that I'm staying filled with all the information that I need to, become a wiser woman than what I am right now. And I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. I set up some goals in the beginning of the year, did a little vision board. That thing actually works. I tell people that often. That really works, actually making a vision board, because then you can kind of like put things in perspective. And some people like to write them down, get a little binder and stuff and, write their goals down. And I do that too, but I just like pictures. I'm kind of like a visual person. And so, in the beginning of 2018, I did that vision board and, I put some things up there that I'm starting to see manifest right now. And so, God, I'm just so grateful for it. And I'm just going to continue to do my best and be the best person that I can be. And hopefully you'll do the same thing. I'm pretty sure you're already doing it, because guess what? You're our awesome listeners. Yeah. Like, seriously. But all jokes aside, though, I am so happy to be here with you tonight. I got a great show, as you know. But before I get into that, wherever you're tuning in right now, of course, I want to encourage you to encourage a friend to link in with us on Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, our Facebook page. And also, if you do that, of course, if you go to our Facebook page, you'll actually be able to see me live in the studio recording live right now. You can call into the show. It's all about you. But you have to pick up the phone call if you have any questions. Of course, with any of the things that we're discussing on the show, you're able to do that. Now, the other ways that you can link in with us, you can actually go to my show specifically and go to the press release on Facebook or on Instagram, the press release for you. And so if you do that, of course, you'll be able to link up with me. I'm always posting news, pictures, things that I'm doing and I'm engaged with in the community and on a state level. So just different things that you can actually find out if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Portia Bright and, while I'm bringing you the press release. So, yeah. Now, of course, I want you to do that and also one last thing, I want you to click that little browser on the right side of your screen, wherever you're listening on your computer, you have it on the right side of your screen. There's a little star. And you also have it on your cell phone too, but there's a little star. I want you to click that star, because if you do that, of course, you can keep up with me. You don't have to go look and type it up every single time. You can just make sure you go right back to your favorites and pull up, of course, Awesome Radio and the press release with Portia Bright. Now, let's do this. And of course, because that supports us, and support is always great, right? So yeah. Now, let's get into what I have for you this night on Friday, June the 1st. I mean, there have been so many things taking place. And some of you are probably wondering, like, why I have my shades on tonight? I don't know. I just felt like I just wanted to do something a little bit different. Like, I've been reading a lot all week. traveling a lot this week, going back and forth to work and stuff. I work in Raleigh. So I just felt a little tired tonight, and so I want to wear my shades. I don't know. Y'all let me know how I'm looking at my shades and stuff. Go to the Awesome Radio 106.9 FM Facebook page. Let me know, should I continue to wear shades every Friday night, Because we do talk about a few things that are a little shady on the show, but, I don't know. We'll see how I feel or whatever. And whatever, comments that you have, of course, you can always just shoot them out on our page. So anyway, I know you've been seeing all over the news here in North Carolina, the legislature has been working on our state budget. Oh my God. So when I tell you this has really been a tumultuous week for me, tensions have been running high on every set of my job. The General Assembly, every 2 years, they actually work on a budget. And so this particular year, they're working on a budget in what's called the short session. And so we've been in short session ever since May the 16th. And, although that seems like not a long span of time, a lot of things have taken place in our state. It's been bananas. So let me tell you a little about what's going on. Sadly, both parties are, supposedly, who supposedly make up our democracy, have been going back and forth, not able to work together in terms of getting the results that the people actually need. And so they did something this particular short session, the Republicans did. I'm sorry, I have to go and just name the folks, but the Republicans did. They actually implemented a parliamentary procedure that hasn't been tried literally since the 1970s. And so with that particular procedure, it's basically saying that the Democrats weren't able to make any type of budget amendments. So you can imagine how many people are left out of this. It's not just the people who are actually elected into office. Literally, the people that they represent all across this state were actually left out of this budget process. And so, of course, your girl had to do the math. That's literally 4 million people who were actually left out of this whole decision in terms of coming up with the budget, factoring in all the specific needs for certain areas and so forth. So you can imagine what's been going on. I've been getting phone calls and, people really concerned about what's going on and, calling to voice their opinions and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, I didn't really know what to say because, the Republicans are in the majority, the supermajority. And so, basically the Democrats were pretty much stuck. We can't do anything. All we can do is continue to talk. And so that's exactly what they did. They did that for literally about 5 hours yesterday on Thursday. That's usually when the short session, that's usually when sessions during the week end on a Thursday. They go from Monday to Thursday. But unfortunately, we had to go over into Friday today. And so the budget was able to pass today, of course, because we know the Republicans have the majority and so forth. But my thing is, what really bothered me was when, all those people who really didn't get a say-so in what was taking place with the budget. That really bothered me because I'm looking at it you got teacher pay, which has been a big situation because these are people that are educating our students, people that are really sacrificing themselves because, if you go to school these days, kids are a little different. They're not, their mannerisms are different. It's basically what I'm trying to say. And the curriculum is a little bit different because you have to keep up with the technology changes and so forth too. So you're really putting a lot of strain on those teachers when you're pretty much saying, well, you really have to go into the school and sacrifice yourself and give the knowledge that you've already obtained to these students, but we're not going to pay you what you're worth. And so that really bothered me a lot, but I had to continue to do my job. And so let me tell you specifically what happened with that. Now, the budget increases the average teacher pay by 6.5%. Now, the range of the raises is large. Now, listen to this. This is actually in the budget. For less than 1% to 14.8%. Now, veteran teachers are the ones who are receiving the least and continue to trend from recent years by the Republican leadership. Now, legislators could have done a little bit better with teacher pay. We all know that. Because, with raises and stuff like that, they're really not keeping up with inflation rates and how the economy is growing and how the prices of things are going up, specifically gas, and in some places electricity and so forth. So those are all factors that we have to key in when we start talking about giving people raises in our economy. Now, of course, Governor Cooper proposed freezing corporate income taxes and cuts for income over $200,000 and using that money for teacher pay. Now, that would have given teachers an average of 8% of pay raise with no teacher getting less than 5%. That ain't even it. Listen to this. The budget also increases per pupil investment by $391 compared to the last year's budget, bringing spending to $6,696. Now, the North Carolina currently ranks 39 in the country per pupil spending. And you probably have heard that over the news 1,000 times. But when you start putting those things into perspective, all of this really starts to mount up to, what's really going to end up being a big problem. Now, over 2,400 less than the national average of teacher pay. Now, just like with teacher pay, we could have done better. We all know that, especially with this particular budget. Now, Governor Cooper's budget increased school spending by $579 to $6,884. His proposal, of course, was better, and not just on teacher pay, but by investing in classroom spending like $150 per school supply stipend to reimburse teachers for their out-of-pocket expenses. But check this out. If you really actually do the research, you'll find out there was only one legislator who got all of the school supply budget to his particular district. And goodness well he ain't Democrat. And that's so sad. Like, when I heard that, when I was like, we're going through the process and we're going through the budget, because you got to keep in mind, too, the actual Democrats got the budget late. Literally, the Republicans had already been working on the budget. We already know that. And so, with them already knowing what's in the budget, they pretty much already knew how to counteract, news and, articles and all that type of stuff. So we were pretty much sitting hey, what are we supposed to do now? What are you going to do with the amendments that we could have actually presented to make this budget fit all of North Carolina, not just some of North Carolina? So things got very tense. It was so crazy, seriously. I didn't even want to leave my chair. You know what I mean? It was just that serious. I felt like I wish I could have been doing something different. I don't know, I wish I could have been helping more people. I felt I don't know. I just felt like something needed to occur that was going to change the dynamics of things the way that they were playing out. But it was just crazy. So anyway, I want to tell you also about school safety, and we're actually going to head to a sponsorship break. I got 2 more minutes. Now, school safety is very critical and a very important topic for everybody right now, because a lot of people, have children, family members have children. We all have somebody that we care about who goes to school. And so that has been a very important topic. And so in the budget, we were hoping for, a little bit more security in that specific area. Let me tell you what the budget does. Now, the budget takes small steps to make our schools safer by providing $28 million in new funds and redirecting $70 million in existing funds to spend on school resource officers, a student threat reporting app, student mental health, and school safety training and equipment. Now, all of those things are important, but have we really analyzed what we would actually need for to protect all of the schools in North Carolina, to make sure that we're not in those type of situations anymore? The situations that we've been seeing play out all over the country. And so, of course, Governor Cooper wanted $130 million, but he only got $28 million for this specific area. So you think about $28 million, people are really going to have to figure out a way to, come up maybe with the additional money to make schools look safer, because it seems like the state legislature isn't trying to make that pull right now. They're not trying to make it happen. But I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about what took place in the state budget when we actually come back for our sponsorship break. I would encourage you, in the meantime, head over to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM Facebook page. Click us in your favorites. Make sure you're able to pull us up every Friday, if not all throughout the week, because there are various shows on throughout the week that you may find some interest in. And so yeah, I'll be right back. Head over to Instagram, click on my the press release for you so you can stay up to date on news, pictures, some of the other things. Just follow me in general, because you're going to have a good time. You're going to find out some good information. And of course, you're going to get some great laughs. So yeah, you're listening to Awesome Radio 106.9, the press release. And of course, I'm your hostess, Portia Bright, and I'll be back.
Morgan Freeman is fighting back in the wake of a CNN report that detailed allegations of sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior toward women in the workplace. Well, the actor's legal team has gotten involved. They are demanding a retraction from CNN and threatening a possible lawsuit. This is all about a story that was published last week. Now, among the main points that was made by Freeman's lawyer in the letter is the fact that the comment which actually fueled reporter Chloe Melas's investigation into Freeman was not even made to her, but rather in a response to a story his co-star Michael Caine had been telling at a press junket. Well, this comes just 2 days after one of the women labeled as
what's going on out there, awesome family? I see you watching on Facebook, through the Nuvo, only through Awesome Radio 106.9. Make sure you leave us some comments. Let us know you're out there watching and stuff. And, let us know if you're enjoying what we're sharing on the station.
Come on, smile. Oh, honey, you're still not smiling.
And I definitely want you to go click and check me out on Instagram, the press release for you. You can also look me up at Portia Bright, but of course I want you to follow the press release. And I also have my Portia Bright TV on YouTube, so you can check various things that I'm doing and whatever and posting. You can always follow me and check me out.
Learn the others at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Join the conversation, Kingdom Conversation with Elder Doris Bailey
and Apostle Anthony Daniels every Saturday at 12 noon on Awesome Radio
106.9 FM.
Your love is in this place. And we are back, awesome family. Of course, if you just tuning in, you're listening to the press release, and I am your hostess, Portia Bright. Yes. And so, if you just logged in, of course, we've been talking about a host of things. Specifically, we've been talking about the state budget that actually has, pretty much have passed and is going to be going to the governor's desk. And so a lot of things were left out of budget, and so a lot of people were very upset. A lot of tensions were flying because, of course, the Republicans use a parliamentary procedure that wouldn't allow Democrats to actually have the opportunity to make any amendments to the budget. And so a lot of people were left out. Specifically, 4 million people were actually left out because each one of those Democrats that were not included into the budget or had the opportunity to make any amendments did not have a chance to voice their concerns for their constituents. And so a lot of people were dissatisfied in this run about the whole situation. And so even myself, because, we all have families and stuff. And so you're all, whatever you're doing, and if you have, any type of, a job where you actually have a say-so or, where you can put your opinion in and try to help better, the situation for everyone, then you try to do your best at that. And so I felt like I was helpless too because, I actually work for a Democrat. And so we were really not able to do anything. And so, things got to change. And so let me finish telling you about this budget though, so that way you are woke on this whole situation. Now, of course, we're talking about school safety. The budget is only giving out $28 million in new funds and redirecting $7 million in existing funds to spend on school resource officers, student threat reporting app, which I felt was very important because, people, if they see something, they need to have an actual convenient way to go ahead and, outside of dialing 911, of course, but they need to have a convenient way to be able to go ahead and post that information so that way it can be reviewed ASAP, You don't have to worry about being put on hold and told, I'm going to transfer you to this person and I'm going to transfer you to this person. By using that specific app, you will be able to post the information that you have gotten or any tips that would help save lives. And so I felt like that was a very awesome investment right there. Student mental health is another one. School safety training and equipment is all very important because we're going to definitely have to beef up the security in our school systems to keep our children safe because, you know, we just cannot afford to just be lackadaisy. You get what I'm saying? We have to make sure we're protecting our future, and the children are our future. And so that's what the enemy is attacking right now. And so we got to make sure we have countermeasures for that. And so I'm hoping that, you know, we get some kind of funding that come from some other area, because right now it ain't looking like, you know, we're going to get it from the state legislature. So we're going to have to make sure we're all pulling together for this situation. And I know a lot of people say, hey, we're taxpayers. But yeah, we're taxpayers, but that's why it's so important for you to get out there and vote, because the people that you're electing into office are the people that are making the decisions on how to spend your tax money. And so once we begin to realize how important our vote is, then we can realize how important our future is and what we need to do to put in place now to make sure we have what we need futuristically. That's how we're going to see some type of change. And so your girl got her fingers crossed. Yes, I do. Your girl got her fingers crossed. I'm hoping with this new wave that is blowing through, it's called the blue wave. We're hoping that, you know, we get some really good talent, some people that are really committed to serving the people of North Carolina. Because if we don't, we are in a rock between a hard place. And I know that sounds a little vague, but I mean that's the Christian way I can put it. But you know, things are not gonna be so great, and so I'm continuing to pray, because I know if I lean on Jesus, everything's gonna work out. And I want to encourage you to do the same, because things ain't going so well right now. But anyway, I want to let you know. Now, gun safety proposals have been coming. It seems like we're not getting. I feel like. I don't feel like there's going to be any type of gun safety proposals that are actually going to maybe come into law this particular session, because you know why? This is an election season, and gun laws, people with guns, they do have a lot of power. I'm not meaning that they can load them up and start shooting people. Yeah, they can do that, but people in the community of using, you know, firearms, there are a lot of businesses that use firearms. There are a lot of people that survive off of the money that are made on firearms. And so with this being an election season, I really, really don't feel in my heart that there's going to be any type of law that would help, you know, put some type of control on guns and stuff. And so we definitely got to hold our breath on that one. But don't hold it for too long, because you definitely got to keep moving on and keep getting things in order. And so let's move on to workforce development now. Now, North Carolina's economy is expanding, and we know that we see all types of, you know, construction taking place in every community, it seems like, here in North Carolina, you know, in the capital, even rural areas. People are starting to build into rural areas. I know it's taken a long time for communities to start sprouting up in those rural areas, but people are starting to realize being in those rural areas is comfortable. You know, property prices are a little bit different, so people are migrating in those rural areas, and so a lot of places are actually expanding. But check this out. North Carolina is expanding, but there are large swaths of the state where the economy is declining and is stagnant. Now, the single biggest challenge we face economically is helping workers train or earn a credential that will help them secure a job, a good paying job, because that's the biggest thing. People need to get good paying jobs, just not some job, because we know if you get some job, then you got to work a few jobs to be able to survive, you know, and provide for yourself, and Godspeed if you have a family, because it's going to be hard for you to be able to provide for them, you know. And so we want people to get great paying jobs. And so the state budget includes another corporate income tax. Yes, it does. And North Carolina will now have the lowest rate in the country among states that levy the tax. Now, our priority should be investing in our workers. Governor Cooper proposed a comprehensive plan to invest $30 million for worker training in high-demand fields, $20 million to help students on the cusp of graduating who face financial emergencies, and $10 million for on-the-job learning opportunities. Now, North Carolina's higher education system is also critical to economic growth, and helping our people develop their skills in their education. Now, the budget provides an increase of 44 million of community colleges, 44 million for community colleges, and 60 million for the UNC system. Governor Cooper's budget would have invested 81 million and 110 million dollars respectively. And so that's a lot to divulge. Yes, a lot of numbers. It seems like a lot of money, but when you go ahead and start analyzing all of those type of programs and stuff, that's not enough to go down the pipeline. And which brings me to my next point, early childhood. Investments in early childhood programs are the best investments we can make with our taxpayer dollars, because you know people are always going to have children. People are always going to have to educate their children, so early childhood investment is always important. Now, North Carolina recently received a large federal grant to expand early childhood education. Now, the budget takes 50 million of that grant and uses it to fill in a 50 million cut in state funding of early education. Now, the waiting list for child care subsidies is over 50,000 kids. These children are missing out on an opportunity for early childhood education they will never see again, and it's really sad. And so, I know I just had an actual commissioner who visited our office the other day. You know, we had county commissioner legislative day at the General Assembly, and so they came and they were not happy. And this was one of the many issues. This was one of the issues that really bothered them, because you know we have to make sure that we're taking care of our children, getting them prepared for what's about to take place in the future, educating them, making sure they have the right resources and the right care to be able to live a productive life. And so a lot of people were upset about that. And so, God, I know it seems like a lot, guys, but you really have to know this information. So that's why I have the press release here for you. And so when we were actually about to take a small sponsorship break, you know, your girl got to go pay some bills. And so once we come back, I'll be telling you a little bit more about, you know, what took place in the state budget, what to watch out for. And I also have some awesome opportunities coming up, awesome cash opportunities where you can actually learn more about, you know, some cash that's floating out there. And so I hope you'll keep your dialogue, of course. You're listening to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, WBIS-LP, and I'm your hostess, Portia Bright. So I hope you will not move, like literally, stay there. Do not touch that dial. Like, keep it right there on 106.9. Seriously, come back. We'll be right back. Guys, I hope you're having a good time, like you're getting educated about like what's taking place with your money and all that.
On May 15th, 1948, the modern nation of Israel came into existence. In the past, every nation in the world has had their nation's capital recognized, except one, Israel, and her capital, Jerusalem. Well, after 70 years, the United States has officially moved its embassy.
It's Friday night, and we Christians are right, so we kicking up our Bible. I was about to hit a freestyle, but it wasn't really going too well, so I think I'll stop right where I am.
Provides legal representation to individuals without charge. Learn more.
What you think about my shades, though? Like, what you think? You think I should start rocking shades like every week, or what? Every Friday night that I air? Let me know. Ooh, that's my song right there. The healing in this room, and this is here for me. Whoa! And that's that Tasha Cobbs right there. She is so awesome. Like, I love Tasha Cobbs, right? Like, if you feeling like any type of spirit of being low or anything like that, Tasha Cobbs will pop you right back up. And I pray I get the opportunity to meet her one day. Like, do you think she would actually come to the press release with Portia Bright? Or, I don't know, I'm gonna aim high. You know, I always say dream big, so I'm gonna aim high. Maybe Tasha Cobbs will actually, you know, see my show one day and like, yo, I want to sit down and chop it up with Portia. So we'll see. Put it in the atmosphere. Tasha Cobbs, come to the press release with Portia Bright on Awesome Radio 106.9.
This is Wendy Bridgers, RN. I'm a nurse.
Guys, you know I dream big and I work hard. You know. That's what I pride myself on doing, because I want more out of my life. I know what it's like to fail, and so I want to do my best futuristically so everybody's happy.
WBISLP.
You know that's my theme song. And the things I do And the way that I put my trust in you, they don't understand. And we are back. Awesome family. Of course, if you are just tuning in, you are listening to the press release, and I'm your hostess, Portia Bright. And so, God, we've been covering a lot of information tonight, and I want to give you the opportunity to call in. The number to call in is actually 252-756-2008. That number is 252-756-2008. I want you to call in and tell me what it is. How are you feeling? How things are playing out in terms of the state budget. Are you feeling disappointed in our legislators? Do you feel like they should do more? Give me a call, 252-756-2008. Or the people that we're elected into office, do you feel like there should be a change? What are your thoughts? Give me a call. I want to hear from you. Now, and also I want to know what's going on out. Like, it's literally Friday night, I know we always have a lot of things going on around us. We're seeing a lot of negativity on the news, but I want to encourage you to always keep that positive energy around you. Although, things are what they are right at this particular time, things can change just like that. And so I want to encourage people to stay positive out there. I'm a positive person. So, although I go through things just like you, I'm human, I still try to make sure I have positive people around me, positive inspiration around me, music, books, entertainment, things that are going to fulfill me or help fill me back up. Because a lot of times, if you're pouring into a lot of people, sometimes you got to be refilled yourself. And so you need the same things that you're pouring into everybody else. So I would encourage you out there, if you're feeling a little low, because of your circumstance or whatever it is that you're dealing with right now, I want to encourage you to stay positive, stay up, stay humble, believe that what it is that you have your mind set on, that it's going to come to pass. And so if you guide yourself and, on that principle, things will start to work out. And I'm a living witness of that. I've been through a lot of things in my life, and I know it doesn't look like that. People see me and they're like, Portia, it doesn't look like you've been through anything. No, girl, boy, please, no, bye. I've been through a lot of things just like you have, and so that's what have pretty much molded me into becoming the person that I am now. Anybody can ask me a question, I'll tell you. I'm not about putting on any type of fronts or anything like that, but I'm not going to have myself out here looking like what I've been through. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people go through things and they'll allow themselves to look like what they've been through. Oh, no, ma'am, no. Because I know my mom, Dolores Bright, she wasn't going to have that, period. So I remember that as I got, transferred, or not transferred, but, as I matured into a woman. I was not transferred, I couldn't transfer for anything, but as I matured into a woman, I realized that I had to continue to ground myself off the founding principles of what established me in the beginning. And so that helped me, mature to, who I am now and what I have going on now, my goals, my dreams, my aspirations, things that I work for. And so, I want to encourage you to do the same thing. If you need somebody to talk to, hit me up on Facebook at the Press Release with Portia Bright. If you have any questions, of course, I'll be always willing and ready and prepared to help you get the information that you need to help, with your issue or whatever. Now, next up on the Press Release, I want to talk about some really awesome things. We've been talking about the budget and, things that have been taking place with that. I kind of wish, today is National Donut Day. I kind of wish I had a donut now. You know what I mean? I feel like I done, talked a lot. You know what I'm saying? And so, HBCUs, that's very important. A lot of times people want to know, what's specifically going on with our HBCUs. And, we've been talking about the state budget and so forth. But sadly, there was no investments in HBCUs during this particular short session for, the budget or whatever. And so, it's really sad because, if allowed by legislative leadership, Democrats would have provided some type of amendments to actually, support HBCUs and, kind of bolster student support services, at our HBCUs. And if you don't know what HBCU is, it's a historically black university, college or university. And so, they're just as important as any other university that we actually have, in our state. Now, so a lot of things have taken place on that, and I really, the whole budget situation, I really don't think Governor Cooper is actually going to sign the budget. I'd be surprised if he did, that's just my opinion. I feel like he's not going to sign the budget because it's not doing specifically the things that he needs to get done. And I feel like they're trying to hold him back, trying everything in their power not to make him look good. And so, we just got to keep our governor prayed up, He has great intentions and stuff, but, things get in his way, roadblocks, but they can only be there for so long, right? Because trouble don't last always, is what I've learned, So we really got to keep our governor prayed up. I'm calling our spiritual leaders to, make sure you saying prayers for him, keeping him, fulfilled, well, not necessarily fulfilled, but keep filling him up and, helping him, maybe cross paths with the people who are actually going to be willing and ready to help him with, a lot of the things that he's trying to do. Now, I want to talk about some awesome opportunities. I'm actually going to come back for a little bit of that, a little bit more of news and stuff like that are taking place. And so I got some awesome opportunities. And for those that actually don't know what my awesome opportunity part of my segment is, awesome opportunities are where I research opportunities that are available that people may not even know about to help benefit you in some type of way. Just depends on what the information can do to help you. So tonight, my awesome opportunity is for seniors. Yes, seniors are so important, and oftentimes people forget about our seniors, but they are the ones who pretty much helped us get to this point. And so once we'll all get old at some point. We'll all be considered a senior, Lord willing. And so that's why it's important for us to take care of the people who have helped take care of us all these years. And so with this awesome opportunity, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Aging and Adult Services is partnering with the North Carolina area agencies on aging and local service providers to distribute fans through Operation Fan Heat Relief until October 31st. Isn't that awesome? Right. And so people 60 or older, as well as adults with disabilities, are eligible to sign up for assistance through the end of October at local aging agencies across the state. Now, since 1986, the relief program has purchased fans for older adults and adults with disabilities, providing them with a more comfortable living environment and reducing heat-related illnesses. I have, known of a few instances where, someone actually ended up in the hospital because they didn't necessarily have the right equipment in their home to keep them, keep the place ventilated or, keep them with clean oxygen and stuff like that because of the heat. Once they get a certain level of heat, and I'm not sure if some of you guys, grew up in a mobile home or anything like that, but I did. And when it got summertime, honey, and you didn't have an air condition, you would burn all the way up. Seriously. I mean, I used to dread that, my mom, was working her butt off, and it was a time where our house had actually burned down. And so we really had to start all the way over, and so I definitely have been in those situations where if you ain't got no heat, if you don't have any air conditioning, that heat can really take you out in that summertime. So I'm glad I'm still here, guys. I'm glad the people that grew up with me in my home are still alive as well. So thank God for that. Now, with this particular program, it's actually made possible by donations from Duke Energy Carolinas and Energy Progress, Dominion Resources, and a host of others. And it would allow regional area agencies on aging and provider agencies to purchase fans for eligible individuals. And so just with last year alone, the division received over 85 in donations, allowing for the distribution of 5,033 fans and 27 air conditioners. Now tell me that ain't a blessing. And so they're doing it again this year. So hopefully, you can let your family and friends know about this awesome opportunity. You can actually check it out on the press release with Portia Bright to find out more information with that, as well as Awesome Radio 106.9 FM. And we're, of course, all at a sponsorship break again. Like, really, times are really flying by tonight. And so what I want to do, I want to encourage you to not touch your dial at all. I got so much more information that I want to tell you about that you may not even need to know about, which is all the more reason to listen to the press release with your girl Portia Wright. So keep your dial lock on Austin Radio 106.9 FM. I'll be right back, like literally in a few minutes. So don't move. Stay right there.
Create an atmosphere of learning and creativity for your children that will allow your child to expand their minds and dreams. Positive Connection Care Incorporated, a nonprofit organization, will host its 8th annual summer camp, June 11th through August 10th, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Camp Care is an inclusive summer camp program designed to incorporate non-disabled and disabled children ages 5 to 14. We're located at St. James Baptist Church, 536 West Florida Street, Greensboro. For more information, Dr. Erica Hendricks can be reached at 336-547-8876.
What's up, girl?
Hey, can you come back on recording?
992-5478.
Yeah. How long you gonna be out there?
I was gonna see if you wanted some help on the show for 5 minutes.
I'll
bouncing here. I was like, you go, girl.
yeah, I'll talk to you when I finish.
No, I won't be rolling. I was just trying to step in, but you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the script there.
Thank you for checking on me.
Look, I'm enjoying it. I was just watching. I was trying to figure out what you were saying. All right, man.
All right.
What you doing? Nice.
Luckily, I found a caregiving resource center from AARP. It had articles about the basics, but also information about the hurdles I was facing. Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Has been changed. And we are. No, we're not.
Monday night for
You know that was a false start, right?
Natural Hair Health Show, bringing you hair health and wellness information to enhance your mind, body, and your soul. This is me, Natural Hair Health Show, 106.9 FM, Awesome Radio.
And we are back, awesome family. Of course, we are at the last segment of the show. Like, seriously, time has really flown by tonight, and so we've covered so much information. Like, you know, like I said, a lot of things took place this week, so I was trying to crunch it all down, like, to let you know about it and stuff like that. And so, next up on the press release, I want to talk about some disaster recovery assistance program, which is also known as our Awesome Cash segment. And so, I talk about some awesome cash opportunities where, specifically in this particular area, small businesses would be able to benefit. And I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to the news or anything like that, but you know, we had a storm come through just a few days ago, specifically coming off the Gulf Coast. And so by the time it got to us, you know, it was heavy rain and flooding and so forth. And so in Western Carolina, there were a lot of mudslides and, you know, things like that took place. And a lot of places were damaged because, you know, they didn't expect, you know, it to be that, you know, extensive. Like, they didn't expect that as much damage as they got. And so with this disaster recovery assistance program, the North Carolina Department of Commerce has available $12.5 million to support the recovery of small businesses located in areas impacted by Hurricane Matthew. And the recovery funds are being administered by North Carolina Commerce's Rural Development Division and are provided from Community Development Block Grants Disaster Recovery Fund. And so they have forgivable loans up to $150,000. And so, you know, a lot of times when people get in these situations, they may not have the insurance, but they might have credit. So in that specific case, then that way this program would actually kick in to actually, you know, help with those specific areas. And so I'm pretty sure with a lot of the, you know, recovery efforts that are taking place in the western part of North Carolina, there will be more federal dollars actually coming down the pipeline because Governor Cooper has actually declared a state of emergency just a few days ago. And so when the governor actually declares a state of emergency, that specific time is when, you know, we can actually apply for, you know, federal grants and things like that. And although granted it may take a little while, but we definitely got to be optimistic that it will still, you know, come down the pipeline and you know, help, you know, with different areas in terms of cleanup. And so your girl has her eye on that. I'll be letting you know of any information that I hear, any programs and things like that that are available to help people who are actually going to be, affected by this. And so in terms of, and people that are still affected by this too, because you also have to keep in mind when Hurricane Matthew came here, it caused billions of dollars worth of damage. And so a lot of people are still trying to recover from that and trying to, get their lives back on track after the whole situation. And so, we're definitely staying positive. I'm staying alert. And if any information becomes available, I'll be sharing that with you on the press release. As always, we're your girl, Portia, right? Because it's all about updating you with information you need to know about. Exactly. Now, I want to tell you about something that's really, really, really sparking a lot of flames right now. And that's birthing centers would need license under new legislation that will allow, things to change and, what they've been doing. And so let me tell you about that. The State Department of Health and Human Services would have the authority to license and inspect birthing centers on a bill that was filed just yesterday by a powerful senator in the legislature. Senate Bill 798 to be exact, will require birthing centers to apply annually for a license, and they would be precluded from performing any complex surgery or using epidurals or other anesthesia. Now, the DHHS inspectors could investigate complaints against a birthing center, review its records and facilities as needed, and be able to suspend or revoke the license. A lot of people are upset about that because, although the North Carolina Board of Nursing handles complaints against, nurses, midwives, and, there is no official state oversight of birthing centers in North Carolina. So with this specific bill, it would really change the dynamics of a lot of things. And so a lot of people are upset about this, specifically, there was a business, and I definitely won't name the name. It halted all deliveries in the center in March. Officials with DHHS Division of Health and Human Service Regulation recently had a negotiate with company officials to conduct a voluntary review of a particular center located in Cary. Now, with this particular review, it halted all deliveries at the center in March, following the deaths of 3 newborns in 5 months and a 4th needing hospitalization at Duke University's Hospital Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. So, during the suspension, the company, which operates, with 6 birthing centers nationwide, including the facilities in, other parts of the state like Charlotte and Winston-Salem, had been reviewing all protocols to determine if change was actually needed. And so, with this thing right here, we're going to see a lot of things change, a lot of places who are not necessarily hospitals or whatever, be compromised because with this law will make new regulations a little bit different. And some people may say, this is what we need, and others, of course, they're not going to necessarily agree. Now, next up on the press release, I want to tell you about the DMV, honey. Yes, the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles. There's actually a lawsuit out there on them right now. Yes, can you believe it? Right. So check this out, and I know a lot of people have been dealing with that. Specifically, I know our awesome listeners know somebody, or you've even been a person yourself to, have this issue. But check this out. The North Carolina Division of Motor Vehicles has revoked the license of hundreds of thousands of people simply because they cannot afford to pay traffic fines and court costs. Now, the DMV's unlawful license revocation stems from a North Carolina statute that requires the automatic revocation of licenses for non-payment of traffic tickets 40 days after a court judgment. But the law does not require a hearing before revocation to ensure that a person punished under the statute is actually able to pay. So, honey, things are about to change. Because if you think about this, if you impose harsh court fines on a person without really examining the person's finances to determine if the fine will still allow an individual to actually meet their basic needs, such as water, food, and shelter, you're literally setting that person up for failure. And so if you think about maybe, let's say a college student who maybe not necessarily living on campus, or he or she may not even be living close to her university, his or her university. So they may have to drive. And so think about this. Maybe none of their parents are around. Maybe they don't have any family members around. And then now you're taking their license because they can't afford to pay the court fines within the time limit. that you've given them, specifically this 40-day mark. And so now you're revoking their licenses. That's going to set them back because now they can't provide for themselves. Now they can't, go out and do the necessary things that people need to do in order to function healthy. So this is really serious right now. Now, many of you, of course, as I mentioned, have been impacted by this punitive scheme and are stripped of their ability to support themselves and their families, and driver licenses are crucial to securing and maintaining employment, driving to school, obtaining basic needs, like I just mentioned. And so there is a federal lawsuit in the pipeline ready to challenge the DMV's automatic revocation of driver's license. And so they're basically saying they've not been providing them with proper notice. And so a lot of people have actually been pulled over literally while they're driving, don't even know what's going on. They've been pulled over and, they're telling them that your license, you're driving without a license, your license revoked. So now that's a whole other issue because now you might be going to jail, literally. Don't even know that your license is revoked, but you out there parlaying and cruising around. And so a lot of people like, no, this is not right. Like, this is not North Carolina. This is not North Carolina right here. This is not how we should be functioning. And in fact, the system is dysfunctional. So now we have to go ahead and sue them. And so that's where we're at right now. And specifically, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which supports, people who are, low income, can't afford to have a voice for themselves. So they go out and they actually are filing this lawsuit with a host of other places that have actually teamed up to help make sure that they get the victory for the people of North Carolina. And so they're suing to end a practice which funnels low-income people further into poverty and in violation of their due process and equal protection rights under the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And so I was actually reading a story the other day about this, and I felt really sad for the guy. He was African American gentleman, and he was basically saying in the story that he was out riding around, literally, doing living his life and stuff, and so he gets pulled over because he was maybe going a little bit too fast, and so he gets pulled over, and the police tell him, hey, can I have your license and your registration and so forth. So he gets that. And of course the cop comes back and tells him, like, hey man, your license are revoked. He's looking at him like, what? So now he has another issue. The cop tells him that because of court fines, he goes on to find out and stuff. And so now he has to figure out whether to pay his rent, which he said was like $700, or pay the fine, which basically took the whole chunk of that $700. And so what he says he goes on to do, he had to make that decision and go ahead and pay that $700. But it put him in a bind because he ended up losing his place because, put him in an eviction status because he couldn't pay his rent because, the situations that were actually taking place. And so it was really sad, I felt, some kind of way about it myself personally. And I felt like, a lot of people are dealing with this issue right now. And they don't have a voice. They can't afford a lawyer. They don't have the people to actually stand up for them. And so I'm so glad that we have organizations that would actually, champion situations like this, because there are hundreds of thousands of people who are actually going through this situation. In North Carolina, we have our situation then, but there are other people that are going through it in other places as well. We definitely can't be the only ones here in North Carolina. And so I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on, that whole situation to see how, that plays out, and, to see I'm praying that they win. I really am. And so this is a very serious situation. This lawsuit would help change a lot of things. And so, yeah, your girl will be reporting on this sometime later down the line. Now, next, I want to tell you about something that is very important. Of course, it's all about our children. Next up on the press release, I want to tell you about the school's out, but hunger isn't. Now, nearly, kids are actually on their spring break right now. School is letting out in some places, and in a few other places, they don't have but a few more days. Now, nearly 300,000 children in our 34 counties rely on the free and reduced cost of meals at school to get them through the day. Now, for them, summertime doesn't mean a full-filled vacation. For them, no school means no meals. And so Stop Summer Hunger is an annual initiative to provide additional food to feed children and their families during the season of increased need. And so the Food Bank of Eastern North Carolina You know, it's always, you know, something that we need to make sure that we're volunteering for, because kids are important, guys. I'm not sure if you've ever seen a hungry child before. I have, and so I did everything in my power to make sure that I can make sure that I have something to give that person or give their parents, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, go check on people during the summertime. Make sure that you can, you know, drive by just to check on a child, you know, throughout the summertime or whatever, because you never know what that family is going through. And so that's why it's always important to kind of like be on a buddy system and stuff like that. So that way, you know, you're able to, you know, make sure we're looking out for each other, which is always important. Each one teach one. And so I like this quote right here. It says, after his sisters had eaten, the boy returned a third time, now with his older brother. I felt like, wow, you know, that person felt really comfortable. They felt a sigh of relief, so they wanted to share the blessing that they had received with someone else. And so, yeah, make sure you're staying in tune to what's going on. Make sure you're helping these children out here who are going to have this summertime all to themselves, a lot of time to really think on maybe the issues that they're dealing with at home. So let's keep our kids prayed up. You know, drop by and check on the child throughout the summer, because, you know, you just never know, you know. So make sure you're doing your part. God, it's been an awesome show. Can you believe we're literally at the end of the show? Like, I literally have 52 seconds, so I want to tell you how awesome you are. I want to thank you for listening to the press release with your girl, Portia Bright, every Friday night. Thank you so much. I'm getting people who are liking my social media, you know, leaving us some stars on Awesome Radio 106.9. So I really appreciate you. I hope you stay encouraged throughout this week, this weekend in general. Get out there, have some fun, go to the beach. You know, enjoy this beautiful world that God has provided for us, because I'll definitely be doing it. And so, yeah, make sure I hear from you this week. You know, I'll keep you informed on my social media accounts, so make sure you're following me. Follow Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, and check out the replay to this show on my YouTube channel, The Press Release with Portia Bright, or Portia Bright TV. So, yes, I'll see you next week. I'm signing off. Stay positive, stay good, and stay cool.
Perfect lawn. Your wife and neighbors must be so proud, because nothing instills pride quite like mowing equidistant lines that fescue. Come on, man. Reclaim your weekend and trade the yard work for some fun at the park. With 14 national and 41 state parks across North Carolina, it's nearly impossible to say no to the great outdoors. For more information, go to visitnc.com/parks. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
This is Viewpoint with Kirby Anderson. A recent vote in the state of Connecticut brought the country one step closer to the